Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second episode of Drinking Alone Together, brought to you by the Lonely Heart Spirits Society. Have you always thought a little more deeply about your cocktails than your family members and friends do? When you speak with delight about the botanical profile of your gin, or the rye content of your bourbon, does your spouse suddenly think of a chore you need to do? Do your friends roll their eyes and suddenly change the subject to more interesting things like knitting or grub control? Well, you don't have to be alone with the joy you find on your liquor shelf. Join the Lonely Heart Spirits Society. We lift spirits lovers from solitude to solidarity. That's the Lonely Heart Spirits Society. Drinking alone together. Well, we had such an outrageously phenomenal response to our first video that I had a veritable flurry of postcard from my fan, and I'd like to share that with you. This note comes from Tony in Brighton, New York. Tony says, I've been working from home for more than a week now, and while I've always loved Manhattan cocktails, I'm becoming a little bored with them. You know, it's the same old thing, day in and day out, morning, noon, and night. It's almost enough to drive me to the paper goods aisle at Wegmans. Can you suggest some ways for me to change up my usual recipe and rekindle my passion for the Manhattan? Also, with the relaxed carryout rules for alcoholic beverages, is it legal for me to enjoy my Manhattans while walking my golden doodle? Well, Tony, second question first. Yes, it's perfectly legal for you to enjoy your Manhattans while you're walking your golden doodle, but we strongly recommend that you enjoy your Manhattans from a covered travel mug. Because if a squirrel shows up, that dog gonna spill your drink, and that would be a crime. So, now, I don't know what recipe you're using for your daily Manhattan or your hourly Manhattan from the way it sounds. But I'm going to assume it's a traditional recipe, about 2 ounces of either bourbon or rye, about an ounce of sweet vermouth, some aromatic bitters, and a cherry of some kind. Well, there are lots and lots of ways you can change up that recipe, and I have 3 examples here in front of me. Don't worry about taking notes. I'm going to put the recipes for these cocktails in the comment section of the video, so just pay attention. Our first one is something we call the Black Manhattan. Now, all this does is it changes out the sweet vermouth and replaces it with an Amaro. In this case, specifically, Averna. Now, the Amari are Italian spirits. They're herbal based, and they have an alcohol content generally between 20 and 40%. Vegetal. This one is a little on the sweet side, very mild, very pleasant. Adds a very nice texture to the drink in addition to changing up the flavor. Now there's a whole spectrum of Amari that you can choose from, and if you have one in the house already, it might work. I just recommend that you stay to the milder end of that spectrum if you go to the more medicinal Amari along the lines of Fernet Branca. Their flavors are extremely strong and may overwhelm everything else in the drink. Our second variation is called the Añejo Manhattan, and as you might guess, what we're doing here is we're changing out the whiskey and replacing it with Añejo tequila. In other words, tequila has been aged for at least 12 months. And you could do the same thing with Reposado tequila. The cocktail sites would call that a Mexican Manhattan as opposed to an Añejo Manhattan. It's a fine point. The point is, you can use almost any liquor to replace your whiskey as long as it's brownish. Okay? Our third one is called the Manhattan Island, and this one replaces whiskey with cognac. So it's very très elegant, if you do say a little cognac. And it adds just a teaspoon of Luxardo Maraschino liqueur for a little bit of cherry. If you don't happen to have that in the house and you have cherry hearing or even a touch of Kirschwasser or something like that, just the idea is to get a little bit of sweet fruit in the drink alongside with the cognac and the vermouth. So those are some basic ways you can change up, and we focus mostly on changing out the vermouth. Let's talk about vermouth and the whiskey. Let's talk about vermouth for a second. The vermouth that most people think of when they think of a Manhattan is a sweet vermouth. I'm not going to diss any particular brands, but the vermouth that you're probably thinking of right now is probably a common brand and on the bland side. You could have a lot of fun looking at some of the better Italian vermouths. Italy's where it all started. Carpano Antica formula, Vermouth di Torino, Punta Mess, and Vermouth Lustau. There's all kinds of options. So the next time you're placing an order by phone for pickup with your favorite liquor store, ask them about what other vermouth options they have. And again, you'll find that these are, first of all, sweet enough that you may actually enjoy sipping them on their own. And you probably wouldn't do that with the vermouth that you're thinking of right off the bat. But also, they give a very pleasant taste change and texture to your drinks. Another thing that you can do is look at your garnishes. If you're using your garden variety bright red maraschino cherry, think about upgrading to Luxardo maraschino cherries. These are readily available. Williams-Sonoma has them. Wegmans and Lombardi's have them here in the Rochester area or anywhere you have a Wegmans. Darker, sweeter, also very good with ice cream. And for the tequila variation on the Manhattan, some of the cocktail sites suggest wrapping that cherry in a slice of salami, which would add a little bit of fat and a little bit of spice to complement the spiciness of the tequila. So there you have it. There are lots of ways that you can change up your Manhattan recipe. Give them all a try. See what you've got laying around in your closet. Get out of the rut. Have some fun with it. Hi again. Just a serious thought before we go today. Before I retired earlier this year, I worked remotely from here in our home for 13 years. And I used to joke all the time about how my desk magically turned into a bar at 5 o'clock. And also that I could change my time zone at will. But especially now, it's important to resist the temptation to drink in excess. I have a lot of fun with cocktails. I hope you do as well. But if you want to remain healthy and fight off viruses, it's important to recognize that as well as there being a link between alcohol abuse and liver disease, there's also a link between excessive alcohol consumption and weakening of the immune system. People who drink excessive alcohol are more susceptible to respiratory illnesses and pneumonia. They recover more slowly from infections and wounds. Alcohol changes the microbiome in your gut. It damages your lungs and affects your mucous membranes. All those things are essential to help your body recognize and fight pathogens and infections. Also, drinking well into the evening can disturb your sleep, and sleep is important to staying healthy too. So here's where I'm coming from, despite all the fun that we want to have with cocktails. Get your sleep, eat a balanced diet, get some exercise, solitary of course, and where alcohol is concerned, drink less to be healthier, drink better to enjoy it more. That's it for today. I hope you enjoy this, and if you have suggestions or questions, leave them in the comments below. Thank you.